Hi everybody, Eugene here with Darkroom Software. In this Back to Basics episode, we are going to be covering template basics. This is geared for brand new users, but we will be covering some other things that maybe you may have overlooked. So it's a good idea to watch through the whole episode. And if you have any feedback, be sure to let me know in the comments. Okay, let's jump right in. Okay, so the first thing that we want to cover is the difference between output templates and screen templates. The screen templates are what you interact with, and we'll cover those in the second part, but the first part is going to be the output templates. But let's see where the two are located. Okay, so here in the output menu I have a 2x6, and this is what's going to be printed if I were going to send an email or SMS. This would be included, and I'll show you an option where we can override that for the sharing template. But this is your output menu, and if we switch to the screens menu, this is the template for the screen, and this is what the customer sees on the screen as the booth is running, and this is what they're going to interact with. Or if you have a start button or a grayscale or black and white button, this is the part that they'd interact with. But we're going to go ahead and switch back to the output menu for now. And we're going to click choose. One thing I want to cover that new users will often get a little bit confused on is green screen templates. So if we scroll down and we look right here, if we open this up, we'll see that there's a number, but there's not a gray box here. This would say that this is made for a green screen. Right now I have a green screen behind me. So for this type of output, you would want to use a green screen or remove.bg. We'll look at a couple other examples of that. So this template right here, we'll go ahead and delete that. You can see it has the number 1, and you can see the background. There's not a gray box. And to compare it to a template that is not made for green screen, you can see this has that gray box around it. And that's controlled right here where transparency is set to none, versus chroma key or green screen. This option would be checked here. So this would include the background. So just a couple small things I want to cover real quick before we dive in. So first thing that I want to cover is editing an existing template. So we can scroll through here and find something that's maybe similar to what we're looking for, and then we can double click on it and edit the template. So this one's a PNG, it has some graphics over the top. We'll go ahead and delete that, and let's drop in our own graphic. So I have an image right here, and I can drag this to the top, which would be the back, and now you can see I have these boxes right here. Let's say this is for Ben's birthday. And then I can select a different template if I want. Or I'm sorry, a different font. And I'll go ahead and click OK and see how that looks. I can see that it's cropping off a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and delete that date. But right here I have my bounding box, so if I drag this down just a little bit, I can see everything. And let's say I wanted it to match the color a little bit better. So I'm going to double click on the text color, and then we'll select something like that. And to help it stand out, we'll add a outline around the text, and we'll make that white. And that's just to help it stand out from the background. And then let's say we want to change this font size to 30 and see how that fits. Okay, so it's a little bit big, but now we can see it's a little hard to see it, and it looks like instead of doing the outline color, I did the shadow text. I'm going to do outline, and we'll try black and see if that makes it a little bit better. Okay, that's easy to read. So we can go ahead and save this. One thing I want to talk about is the organization. Now, how you save it. You can save it to your templates folder directly here. And we'll go ahead and rename it, but we're going to save it to a subfolder. Okay, and then I'm going to create a new folder in my templates. Okay, and we'll open that folder and then save it there. What that means is it's not going to save in this root directory of templates. It's actually going to save in a subgroup right here, and there I can see I have my template that I just created or just edited. So let's say I have one that I purchased. I'm going to show you a few different ways to add. You can click add here, and it's going to add to that group, and I'll browse to my desktop, and I have one saved in a templates folder. And this is also a birthday template, so I can add it to the same group. And now in this subgroup, I have these two templates I've added through Darkroom. There's a couple different ways that you can add a template. We'll go ahead and cover those real quick. So you can add it through the choose menu and the output menu, or you can see here that I have that same structure. Here are my templates, my screen templates, and then these are my output templates, and then I have that subfolder. So I could also add it here. Click add and then select that template. And then the third option would be if I went to my X drive, I have my booth templates, and then there's that that folder. So you can see it all matches up, and then I can, if I wanted to, I could then drag this template in here. Because it has the same name, it won't let me do it, but I'll just rename it. And you can see that it's going to copy that same template. Now when we refresh, I have the same template. They have the same template name, but the file name is different. That's why I'm able to add it. So that's one way that you can use to stay organized, and that is the subgroups for your templates. We'll go ahead and create a new one using through the global settings, but the process is the exact same. So let's say we have just a general template. So let's create a new group, and we'll call it maybe my templates. Okay, so I put in my output template, so I know that it's an output template, but it's already in that group. But we'll go ahead and click OK. And then we'll say new, and this is going to be a 2x6. I think it's going to be and just giving it a basic name for now. Vertical 2x6, and the page color doesn't matter because we're going to add a graphic on top of that. So this is creating a template from scratch. Once again, you can do this from the global settings template options or from within the output menu, but you wouldn't want to create a output template inside your screen templates. It would save it in a different area. Okay, so first we'll add a graphic. We'll browse to that template folder on my desktop. And here we go. There we have a background graphic, just something simple. We can add photos, and that's going to keep everything aligned. So let's say we want 3 photos that were, I'm just choosing a 4:6 aspect ratio, and we'll see how that fits. The aspect ratio is actually pretty important. Your camera's capturing a 4:6, so if let's say we did a 8:10 ratio, then it would be cropping off some of the image, and that's okay. You just want to make sure your live view matches that aspect ratio, so what they see is what they get. Okay, there's our 3 images, and it's trying to evenly space them, so we'll go ahead and move that up so we have enough space for the footer. And let's say we want to add a predefined mask and just give it a little bit of shape, and then a frame, and let's go with a fun pink color. And we can see that there's a faint frame, so we can adjust that size to, let's say, we'll go with 1 point. It should make it a little bit bigger. And at this point, we can add text. And we want to make sure that we're kind of trying to match our design. Whoops. So we can see that once again the font may be a little bit too big. We'll go ahead and drop that down to maybe 22. Okay, so that's adding text. Let's say we also want to add maybe our business logo. So we'll click browse. And I have a few different examples here. Here's a JPEG image. I'll add that first so we can see what would happen. You can see that it's outlined in white because JPEG can't have transparency. So let's delete that, and I have another one that is transparent. It's a PNG file. So that makes it a little bit hard to read on that background. So what I'm going to do is add one more object. I'm going to add a effect, and we'll find a little gradient, and we'll set it to, say, white. And by default, it's going to take up the whole template, and I'm going to just drag it down to just where it's important for me to be able to see. And then I'm going to drag this graphic or this object back so it's in front of the background graphic but behind my logo, so my logo is still visible and easy to read. We'll make that logo just a little bit smaller by using the scroll wheel. Okay, and there we go. We have a template that we created from scratch. When we click Save As, it's gonna save to my output templates, which is that folder that I just created. So I'll go ahead and click Save, and you can see here I have these templates and this new sign. And this is an easy way to stay organized. And then if we go back to the output menu, click choose, we can switch and we can see that template here. So we can then update this event with that brand new template. Okay, so the next thing we're going to cover is creating a template that's a little bit more complex. And we're actually going to jump into Canva real quick, and I'm going to show you some options that you can use in Canva. So I have this design that I've built for a Dia de los Muertos event, and I want this to be where the photo sits, and then I have this overlay that's going to go on top, And then I also have this background. So one thing that you'll run into when using Canva, I know a lot of users are using it, is that you want to cut out this object, but if you save it with transparency, it's not going to see that this is cut out. So I'm going to show you a way around. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to delete that. My background, I'm going to move to the very front, and then I'm going to save without transparency. So we'll go ahead and click, and it's going to save this file, and we'll just label it B for background. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to now select that background, delete it, and now when we save it with transparency, the white background would be transparent. If you look at the layers, you can see there's nothing, this is just background. So I'm gonna click share, download, make sure transparent background is selected, and then download that file. And I'm going to call it O for overlay. And those two files are now saved to my computer. They would be in my downloads folder. I've actually already saved them and moved them into my working folder here. So once again, we're going to be try to stay organized. So I am going to cancel here, and I'm going to switch into global settings, and this is for a holiday. Oops, I don't want it to be added there. I want it added to this group. So new group, so now I have my new group. I'm going to click new, and this is going to be a 4x6 Dia de los Muertos, or Day of Dead, and it's a horizontal, so I know the orientation. So I'm going to select 4x6 horizontal, and then first thing I'm going to do is add my artwork. And we're going to browse, and I know this is repetitive, but this helps remember this information. So here's my background. I actually took the other background into Photoshop and dulled it down just a little bit because it's just background texture for me. Next thing I'm going to do is add my photo, and I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. Click add artwork, and now I'm going to add my overlay. And now I have a more complex template than I had before. Now I said we were going to go back to the photo, and we're going to use a predefined mask again. This helps shape the design. It's okay to have rectangles or add options like frames and drop shadows. But for this one, because I want to see a little bit of that background, a little bit more of the background, and I want everything to fade in, I'm going to use this soft edge mask, and you'll see this edge right here just adds a little bit of softness, and the image will sit right in there, and that is my template. And we can see all our little characters down here, the frame around it, and if we want to, we enlarge it just a little bit. But the thing to remember is that overlay is sitting on top, so I'm going to enlarge it more than I want, just to show you that the overlay is on top of the photo, and the background graphic is just a little bit behind it. Okay, save as, and it's going to automatically try to save to the correct location, which is my holiday templates. And save. And there we go, we're staying organized, keeping everything in subfolders. Now you don't have to do this. As you start adding more and more templates, this is helpful. And if you wanted to, you can even go into your X drive and select, let's say, the Christmas and the other Halloween templates and copy those into the holiday template. So what we ship with the software, you can then modify to be organized the way you like to be organized. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to cover is screen templates, and you can get to it from here, but most of the time most users are going to access their templates through here. The options and global settings are made more to create those subfolders and once again stay organized. So let's say we're working on that event for Ben's birthday. I'm going to create a new event so I'm not overriding this one. And okay, so there we have Ben's birthday. I'm gonna click choose, and I can look for something similar to what I want to work with, or I can start from scratch. We'll go ahead and we'll start from scratch just to show you all the options. But a lot of times using an existing template, you can see the options that are built into it, so it's a little easier to know what to add. But we're going to go ahead and do, it's going to be for a full HD 1920 by 1080. That's the resolution of the screen it would be working on. I'm working on a little bit higher resolution display here, but I gave it a name of Ben's B-Day screen. We'll go ahead and add some capitalization. Okay, it's horizontal. Click OK. So I'm going to add a background graphic, and I'm going to just use the one that we used for the output template. So here we go. And enlarge it just a little bit. And the reason why those two didn't match is this is a 9:16 ratio versus a 4:6. So the ratio is a little bit different. It's important that you're matching whatever your output is. In this case, we're outputting to a screen, so that's the difference in why those two didn't match. Okay, and we'll go a little bit larger and scoot them over to the side. And then let's say we want to add a live view. Make that just a little bit smaller right there. And then you can also add preview images, or you can add the output. So I'm going to add preview images, and I'll show you the output option. Let's see. Ben's was 4 images, yeah, right. So we'll do 4, and I believe those were closer to a 4:5 ratio. Whoops. And those are coming up as columns. So 4 and 1. And now they should fit right there. And once again, we talked about aspect ratio a little bit earlier, and that's the shape of the image box. So earlier, those graphics, or that template we created, the box was a little bit more square than it is long rectangle. So I'm going to want to do something similar for the live view, and I can kind of eyeball it and say, okay, those kind of match up. That's definitely not matching, and that's too long. Or I can go into position and size and set my aspect ratio to be 4:5 or 10:8 would be the same ratio. So we'll click OK, and those two numbers are just 4:5 times 2, so 8:10. And those should match up here, and we'll want to add a countdown. So add text, browse countdown, and we'll go with white and make it transparent, and we'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll go with 100 for right now and see how that looks. I didn't notice that it had an outline around it, but that's okay. And that countdown is going to show up right over the live view. And then, so at this point, this is a working template if you're using touch to start, if you're just touching the screen. But let's say we wanted to have a button to start the session. So we're going to go to add shape, and then the command is going to be, we can use start session. If I want to make sure that it shows up in color, I can do color and then start session. For this, I'm going to go with a retro tone similar to the color style of this image, and then start session. So the command is going to be retro and then start session whenever they push that button. And then we'll say start, and let's see, we got a rectangle. We'll go with rectangle with rounded corners, and the color is going to be, let's go with something similar, and we'll see how that looks. And that's a little bit big. So I'm going to use my scroll wheel on my mouse to make it a little bit smaller. Shrink it down just a little bit more. And that doesn't need to be transparent, so I'm going to set that to 100%. And there's our start button. And if we want, we can add a little bit of style to it. We'll do an outline and set that for black, and then maybe a drop shadow, and then we'll see how that looks. Okay, make that just a little bit bigger so everything fits right in the center. And then I'm scrolling down, and what scrolling down does, so this is going to enlarge the shape, but the text is staying the same. If I use my scroll wheel, the font size will also shrink with it. One thing I'm going to do is under the text, just to make sure everything is centered under vertical alignment, I'm going to click middle, and that'll put the start button, the start text right in the middle of the button. So now when they click the start button, it'll then start the session. It'll take its 4 photos, and so we can click save as. If we want, we can save it to our screens template, or I'm going to create a new subgroup so it's then easy to find my template. So there's my screens, choose, and switch over to the output menu, and we'll want to update that one with Ben's template. And then here we can look at these images and look at the aspect ratio. So it's kind of an odd aspect ratio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change these all to the same ratio, and you can see that it's a little bit more square, and that's so everything matches up. And here's a little trick. We're going to go to oops, I want this one to be most selected. It'll have the little marching ants around it. We'll right click, make same size, and now they have the same ratio. And then kind of line everything up. We can use our keyboard to move things around. And let's say we want to make it a little bit smaller. We can select them all at one time and scoot those guys over. And now we have our output template, so it matches the design of our screen template. We'll save that, and we're just saving over the original, but now it has that updated aspect ratio to match the screen. Click choose, and it's saying the number of photos doesn't match. We'll go ahead and update it so it takes 4 photos. Just for fun, it's always important to test your events. Don't currently have a printer connected, but that's okay. Oops. Touch the space bar to start. That text is a little bit off. What we're going to do is switch back to our screen template, and then edit, and then add text, and we can control the placement of where that text shows up. So we'll go ahead and select this, and we'll see how that looks. Maybe put that text right up here, and we'll give it enough space for a second line if needed. Make sure everything's working okay, and we're just going to run through a couple images, but typically you do want to make sure you test it with your printer, make sure everything's working okay. But we have our text, it's showing up in the right location, and our live view and our countdown, our preview images, everything's working as expected. So before we go, one thing I did want to show you was the option of selecting a different template for your sharing options. So this usually comes up when you're printing a 2x6 strip, and for email or your photo to phone, you want to share more of a square image, maybe a 4x6 aspect ratio or a 4x5, something that lends itself to social media just a little bit better. The 2x6 is great for that strip, but maybe doesn't work so well when you post it to Facebook. So I have an example. This is a 4x6. What we're going to do is we're going to add a 4x5 vertical version of this template that we're going to share, just so you can see how it's done. So we'll click choose, and I've already created the template. I'm going to go ahead and just add it to the same group. Here it is right here. And I'm going to click cancel because this is my output template. I don't want to change that. Only thing I want to change is right here under photo email. Click right here, and that option is in a different location. I just wanted to show you that. So there's our vertical version, and that's what's going to be shared, and then they can post that to whatever option they want. And you'll see under photo to the phone you have the exact same options. So if you're using one or both, you can enable both of those. So that's adding a different template to your sharing options like photo email, photo to phone, or if you're posting to event gallery, you have the same option there as well. So that brings us to the end of the Back to Basics template basics. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. And if you're interested in finding out more about your template options, you can go to darkroomsupport.com, and that is our help center, and there's a whole section on templates right here: general information, output and print and output templates, and then screen templates. And there's a more detailed webinar that covers a lot of what we covered today more in depth. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.